Hi, my name is Jason Carpenter, son of Ed Ramos, and I wanted to say a few words in celebration of the life of Carmen Ramos, better known to me as Grandma Ramos. I know this is a hard time for many of us in the family, but I'm honestly happy in celebrating the amazing life Grandma Ramos led. I'm sorry she's gone, but she provided so many great examples of how to live life that I'm hoping I can have even a shred of the impact that she did as we look back on her life at the head of the Ramos family. As many of you may know, I didn't even meet anyone in the family until I was 19 years old. It was a very exciting time for me to meet my long-lost family, but it was also very intimidating. I don't remember the exact event, but I remember it was a huge crowd and I was completely overwhelmed. I didn't know what to say or how to act, and I couldn't remember anyone's name for the life of me. Ramos family events are not your typical get-togethers, as you know. They're more like giant festivals versus a typical family party. But I was young and brash, and I would never let anyone know if I was actually nervous, but on this day I was. One of my little cousins took me by the hand and led me to where Grandma Ramos was holding court. There were many people waiting to get a few minutes of Grandma's time, but she saw me, and somehow she knew exactly what I needed. A quiet moment and a few soft words of encouragement. She didn't say much, but it's what she said that made all the difference in the world. She said, "You're a part of this family now. Just enjoy the time you have with everyone and don't worry. And make sure you get something to eat." From that moment on, I wasn't nervous. I knew she was thinking about me and looking after me, and that was enough to give me the confidence to go out and meet the members of my new family. Grandma Ramos was the human embodiment of speak softly and carry a big stick. She was under 5 feet tall, even in heels, and less than 100 pounds, even with her pockets full of quarters. I mean, she was tiny. Her voice was even lighter and softer than her physique. But when she spoke, whether it was in English or Spanish, everybody listened. It was almost like everyone stopped what they were doing to give Grandma the respect she deserved. She always had positivity in her message and kindness in her voice. For me, it almost didn't matter what she said, because her voice was so soft and so disarming that it brought calm to me anytime we talked. She always reminded me how important that family is and that I would always be a part of this special family. As I said, I don't know that I ever heard Grandma Ramos say a negative thing. She never said it was a philosophy of hers, but you could just tell that she didn't bother with negative words or negative thoughts, gossip, or judging other people. And for the past 12 years, I've struggled with bone marrow cancer. And while Grandma Ramos didn't understand all the details of my treatments, she always asked me how I was feeling and told me that she prayed for my health. That meant a lot to me. I tried to visit her each summer or every other summer, and I always looked forward to it. Being with her at Lena's home in La Jolla or Annie's home in Brentwood were definitely the highlights of my summers. Just sitting at Annie's table doing a jigsaw puzzle or lounging by the beach with Lena's family was enough excitement for me. I just loved being around Grandma. I'm 45 years old, but when I would sit with her on the couch, I turned into a little kid, taking in every word of wisdom coming out of my grandma's mouth. I tried to absorb and remember as much of it as I could. I tried to emulate her positive attitude and take that with me when I would leave for the East Coast. The one thing about my relationship with Grandma Ramos that was unique was that we kind of grew into it versus me being born into it. In other words, when we first met, we were complete strangers. But after years of visiting her, I came to love her as much as I would if I had been in the family since birth. As anyone in the Ramos family knows, there's a hazing period that goes into anyone new coming into the family. It's equal parts teasing and equal parts test to find out what kind of person you are. It's almost like a quiz that you never get the answers to. But Grandma Ramos never tested or teased me. She was always very kind and accepting, but she was also very serious. She took family very seriously and made sure I treated everyone with respect and that everyone else treated me with respect. She was like my bodyguard. She made sure no one messed with me too much, and I loved her for it. Grandma Ramos was one of the most positive people I knew, right down to the very last time I ever saw her. She never wasted her time in the negative aspects of the world. Why get lost in the dark when you can live in the light? That was how she lived her life, and it's one of the most important lessons that I'll take with me for the rest of my life. Goodbyes are always hard. Losing Grandma Ramos hurts the heart. I always made sure that when I said goodbye to her, that I told her I loved her as if it were the last time I'd see her. She actually did the same thing. It was amazing. It wasn't dramatic. We didn't talk about it as if it were a final goodbye. We just felt it. Between her age and declining health and my difficulty with cancer, we each knew we may not see each other again, at least not in this world. It always brought me to tears, but they were tears of joy. I had no regrets about my time with her or about not telling her how I loved her. I feel very fortunate to have had that kind of relationship with her. We both knew exactly how we felt about each other, and we didn't even need words to communicate it. When it was finally time for me to leave, Grandma Ramos would always call me over to speak with her for a couple of minutes. She always requested to personally see me off and wave as I drove away to the airport. I won't say exactly what was said between us, but she reminded me about the love and importance of family, and how I would always be a part of this special family. You had a great life, Grandma, and I'll miss you. Thank you for the life lessons.